The emergency alert blared from my phone Saturday night, announcing the curfew, an audible expression of the anxiety that had been building all day and in the days prior as we reeled from the killing of another unarmed black man by a police officer, as we reeled from protests in our city and other cities across the nation, looting and violence, incendiary comments from leaders. I went to bed Saturday night, not sure what the morning would bring. I woke up and felt yet more keenly the limitations of online worship, the inadequacy of a Pentecost sermon recorded days ago. How much I regretted not being able to gather in person with people of our church, to be together, to share this time together, to speak to this time, in this time, this awful time of uncertainty and anger and lament. How jarring the imagery of Pentecost felt juxtaposed alongside the images of this past week. Pentecost's tongues of flame on top of the apostles' heads, and the images of buildings and vehicles being burned. In the gospel for Pentecost, Jesus breathing into the disciples the gift of the Holy Spirit, and images from cell phones of the killing of George Floyd as he gasps, "I can't breathe." We were already on edge in quarantine, all our schedules upended and movements curtailed, worried about the future and bombarded with bad news. Then this, like a match dropped on gasoline. Except it's not a match. It's a man who died with a knee on his neck while others in authority watched. Except it's not a man, it's many men and women, African Americans, who have been killed or beaten or harassed or mistreated or suspected or not hired or not promoted or not selected or not invited, and not just this year, for so many years, for centuries. Our country has been infected with racism and racial violence since before its founding, and systems that perpetuate them continue. Even as we fight a pandemic, these systems make it more likely that people of color will suffer more acutely from COVID-19. We are all on edge, but some have been on edge their whole lives simply because of the color of their skin. On that day of Pentecost that was 2,000 years ago, the tongues of flame did not bring destruction. They signaled enlightenment as people of all different places could understand one another. Inspired by the Holy Spirit, they proclaimed a gospel of inclusion for all peoples, all races, all nations, all ages, for all ages. This is how the church was born, with the announcement that God is God for all people. This is the message for us to blare beyond our anxiety, from the deepest part of our being. God, give us breath to do so. Come, Holy Spirit.